Hello, welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to review the latest release for Necrons for Aeronautica Imperialis. Hopefully by now you've been watching the Aeronautica Imperialis battle reports that Con and I have been producing. There is 5 in total, but only 2 have been released so far, and I'm editing the rest, so they will come very, very soon. I was so excited when Necrons were announced. I had a Necron army back in 5th for 40k, and I think that's where my love of soulless robots came from, was from the Necrons, and then as 30k started to gather a bit of momentum, I moved into Mechanicum. So it's really nice to have these models here. I got them sort of 3 or 4 days after release day. They came all the way from Nottingham, so they travelled quite far to get here, and I'm just going to go through the models, do a little bit about their rules. I'm not going to go too much into rules, and just have a look at the model themselves. So first things first, the models come in these really lovely clamshell packs. We've seen these before from Forge World, and you can see there that it's just, you know, normal stuff that we're used to. It's quite a thick old pack, which is pretty cool. Now, one thing I was concerned about was obviously there's no cards at the moment, or no dice for that matter, but there's no cards, so I imagined that the cards would be inside the packaging, which they were. And what I usually do is I usually get a scalpel, just cut it to hell, rip the stuff out and get going. But I was conscious of that, so I've got a pair of scissors. I'm sure you guys do this, but if you don't, or you're new to Forge World, or you just started collecting or getting into it, then you might not understand, or you might not realise that the cards and various bits and bobs are in the top packaging here. So I got a pair of scissors and just gently cut around the edge, which then released the mighty packs there. So I'll put them down on the top down for you there so you can see them. So they come in this nice little booklet, and when you open the booklet out, you get a nice card, which is really cool, double-sided as well. A bit flimsy though compared to the cards. Hopefully they'll bring a pack of them out soon. And then obviously you get a bit of fluff about the Night Shroud there, a nice picture, and on the back you get some instructions. So pretty standard fare from Games Workshop, or Forge World rather, but it was a real nice surprise to see the card inside the pack. So really happy about that. I'll do the Dune Scythe as well. You can see that. Open him up. You got the rules, some fluff, and then again the bits on the back. So looking at the Doom Scythe there is not many parts at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts to the Doom Scythe, which is pretty cool. And then for the bomber, there's a few more parts here. There's 2 guns. There's like a shroud, the 2 fronts of the croissant, and then the outer parts, and then like the little tail section, as well as like the kind of instrument cluster, which fits right in the front of the aircraft as well. So not many parts at all, but that's fine. They look really cool regardless. Now, before I start building aircraft, or any model for that matter, I like to have a look at the weapon options, compare them to the rules, and see whether it's worth magnetising them or putting a pin in it or something. And I generally don't bother with Aeronautica Imperialis because the models are quite small, and most of the weapons are underslung on the wing or the fuselage, so you're not really going to see them. But I did with the Tau in particular, because the profile of the aircraft looks so dramatically different when you take off the weapon systems. So I definitely did that with a Tau. That was some magnetising mastery there. I have to say it was quite tricky, but well worth the result in the end. So I just wanted to check the Necron aircraft. So if we have a look at the rules supplied with the model itself, it comes with a twin Tesla destructor and a heavy death ray, which is great. So both weapons are pretty cool, and the model's 38 points. Now, somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew online, little leak, that points was wrong, or not was wrong. I remember the aircraft being cheaper. So thankfully, I got the new companion book at the same time. So if we flick through to the Necron section, there it is. The model is 35 points and only comes with the Tesla destructor, and then for additional 3 points you can upgrade it to have the heavy death ray. Now that's really interesting. So the reason why I did magnetise the death ray is because, I'll remove this piece of blue tack here. So if we look at the profile of the aircraft, It's quite sleek with those underslung Tesla destructors. But then when you add the heavy death ray, it does create the profile a little bit different. It's not game breaking, it really isn't, but in a game that can be quite fun, you tend to get carried away. So I think WYSIWYG, with Heresy in particular, is the best way to go, because nobody gets confused and everyone knows where they are. So I cut, there's like a little stalk on here, probably showing the top down. There's a little stalk, and all I did was I just cut that off and glued a magnet to the top of it. Hopefully you can see that. I know it's quite hard, it's a very small piece. And then there's a hole here that the peg locates into on the underside of the aircraft, and I just bored that out, I think with a 2mm drill bit, can't quite remember, and then I just magnetized the two on there. So now you can see if I hold the profile shut up, it does change the profile a little bit there. So with it on, whoa, come on, and then with it off. And also if we look from a top down as well, you can see that kind of, that triangular shape just popping out the front. So that's with it on, and I'll take it off, and that's with it off. So for me, it does change the profile of the aircraft, and it's definitely worth doing. And for the sake of 5-10 minutes it took me, I think it's well worth it. So that's definitely worth doing if you're if you like me, like WYSIWYG, and you want to magnetize, not magnify, your aircraft. The other thing I found was the Tesla destructors for both the aircraft. They're very delicate, and you can see in the camera there that the infill piece here has got a load of flash in it, and I tried to get that out with my scalpel and I ended up butchering one of them. It wasn't very good. So I took a 1mm drill bit and just gently drilled a little hole in each of the sections, and then very, very carefully picked the flash out with a very sharp scalpel, and it came out all right. Hopefully you can see on this one here that it came out okay there. What you can do is you can cut them off completely and use very fine wire, drill a hole and loop them back round, and I think that'll do just as better job. And also as well, you know, I've tried to chip it away, and on this one in particular, it's made the wires look a bit angular, a bit straight, which looks a bit weird. So at least if you're going to use some wire, they'll be perfectly cylindrical around. But as I said, they're quite small. They're going to be underneath. You're probably never going to see them, but it depends how much of a purist you are in your hobbying ability. But definitely something worth noting. Moving on to the Night Shroud. This thing is an absolute beast. It is huge, and I love the detail on the underneath with those, I think they're called death spears. Oh man, they are really cool. Yeah, death spears. So you can just see them in the kind of like a little enclosure ready to be dropped down on the targets, ground targets below, which is really cool. Again, twin Tesla destructor, that is a phenomenal weapon. And then you've got this little shroud here with this kind of like a little, I don't know, Oculus device, like a sighting device. And then you've got a covered crew compartment. One of the things I do love about the Night Shroud is, the smaller one, is that you've actually got a Necron there, front and center, piloting the aircraft, which is really cool. Really great to see that. Just moving on to the rules very quickly. They're really impressive. I did wonder how they were going to go with this, but when we saw that preview from Games Workshop and we saw the base cost of the Doom Scythe was 35 points, I thought, oh, that's quite a lot. But if we have a look at the stats, you know, 4 structure point, 3 throttle, awesome maneuvers, 128, and the weapons on that beast are pretty formidable. They damage on 4s, extra on 6, and then the heavy death ray, damage on a 3, extra on a 4, which is pretty cool. Really good sort of short to mid-range firepower, which is very cool. And then you've got the Night Shroud, again, the twin Tesla destructor, and then those death spheres to rain death upon your on the opponent's ground targets. But structure 5, throttle 2, 1 to 6 on the maneuvers. Handlings 4+, which is great. In the companion book, there are some fantastic, well, I say some, there's one fantastic upgrade which I think is worth taking. Reinforced Necrodermis essentially means if your opponent's weapons damage, extra damages on a 4, it pushes it to a 5, or if it damages on a 5, it damages to a 6, to a maximum of 6. So that's really cool, and that's usable every turn, whereas all the other options in the book are once per game, and that's fine. There's a lot of this once per game in a lot of the ace abilities or the upgrades and stuff. And I'm not a fan of once per game, because you can have an amazing roll on that once per game, or you can have a really terrible roll and you've wasted sort of 3, 4, 5 points in some cases. And for me, I like stuff that works all the time. So for me, that Necrodermis upgrade is probably the best one in the book. I shall probably take that on all of them, to be fair, just to save some points. And obviously in the new rulebook there are extra rules for smoke and flame damage, which I think will help the turns go beyond 4 or 5 turns. I've played quite a few games now and I've never got to a 6th turn, so it'd be nice to go a little bit longer. And also there are some really awesome missions in this book as well, so I would definitely pick it up. A lot of people have remarked that it's not a hardback, it's a softback. Yeah, I was a little bit upset as well, but you know what, I don't care, it's just rules. I kind of got over it really quickly when I started reading, and the new missions in the book as well. I'll just show those very quickly. Some really cool, awesome deployment zones, the dueling aces, and then no man's land, where you will need 3 ground assets to bomb, which is really cool because you get 2 gun platforms and then you get a ground target. So to play those new missions you probably will need 3 sets, and that's lucky because I've brought 3 sets and I had no idea this was coming, so thankfully I'm prepared. So that's really cool. And when I get them all kind of built, I'll do a bit of review of those ground targets as well, because I think they're really, really cool. Some of them are better than others. I love the new Eldari ones. They are very cool, both the gun platforms and the kind of the webway portal or whatever it is, the structure. That looks really cool. All right, I've gone on for far too long. I know you want to see some comparisons, so what I'll do is I'll do a couple here right in front of you, and then I shall do some overlays for the rest. So every single aircraft I've got here, I'll do an overlay for you at the end of this video. So when I finish talking, please hold on, don't switch off, and watch those overlays. So we'll start with a Storm Eagle, so comparable size to the bomber there. What else we got? Bring one of those Eldar craft in. Again, comparable sort of size, really. Looks very cool. And then we'll bring the big beast in. Oh, look at that. I can just imagine these little night shrouds just, you know, flying in and around that that Thunderhawk there, taking hull points off it with its crazy extra damage weaponry, which is pretty cool. We'll get the Manta in here. Sorry, it's not a Manta, excuse me. I can never remember the designation for the Tau. It's probably an AX1-4-7-24-7, who knows. And then I'll do one more and then we'll do the overlays after. Look at that. That is a huge plane, isn't it? But it looks pretty cool. One thing before I go, if we have a look at the underside of the aircraft, I'll try and get this. It's very difficult, but you can see on the insides here, there's 4 balls in the bottom of that kind of recess area to accept the stand, and I haven't seen that on any of the other aircraft. Yeah, so the Orc aircraft hasn't got it, and that's just to make them a bit more secure when you pop them into their stands, because I noticed some of the Forge World stuff, excuse me, it doesn't stay in very well, and I've had to perhaps pop a little bit of blue tack in there. The plastic stuff's absolutely fine, but these have a nice reassuring when you pop them in, which is really nice. And you can see the clear bases I've made there, but they're for obviously the videos. It's better than having these in the video. But the thing I'm getting around to, the thing that I love about both these aircraft is that they fit, or this one in particular, fits within the confines of the space. Because playing Aeronautica sometimes, when it gets a bit crazy, you end up with this, which is fine, but it is weird. So you end up having like weird angles and stuff, or you know, you've got the smaller aircraft, they kind of end up, which is really cool. Thematically, it looks fantastic, but gameplay wise, the hexes are so small, you kind of end up here and some weird stuff. So the thing I love about these is they do fit within the confines of space and they don't overhang. The bomber is a slightly different, but it's fairly there. But I just like that fact. It's very boring, but I really enjoy it. All right, I really hope you've enjoyed this. Please let me know if you enjoyed the video. If not, let me know why, but please be constructive. And if you hold out, you'll see all of the overlays of all the aircraft I have here, and you can get a good size comparison. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you very soon.